Blackbeard works here. And happy One Piece Day, everyone. Big excitement. July 22nd is One Piece Day, and this should come out on that day. So yeah, One Piece Day. So I was watching a show called The Boys recently. Don't click away. This is a One Piece video, I promise. But in season 4, episode 8, it's spoilers for season 4, episode 8. That's the final episode of the season. But in that episode, we find that there is a shape-shifting, superpowered being that is able to copy the visage of other people along with their memories, but they can't copy the unique powers of the individual if they have any. So this got my wheels to turning. What if Katharina Devon can copy the memories of people she touches? And as you know, in chapter 1107, she has touched Saturn. And I talk about this in my reaction video of 1121 because 21 is divisible by 7. So numerology, I guess. But anyway, in that chapter, J. Garcia Saturn, who is very important because he's the first member of the 5 elders who is confirmed to be a power user of some sort. I think all of them are Delphi users. That's just the simplest way to go about it. And he's the first 5 elders member to be involved in the plot in any significant way because, of course, he is a very big figure in Bartholomew Kuma's life and by extension, Bonnie's life. So all of that together is very interesting, and it's a bit poetic that thanks to the combined efforts of Nika and Nika Jr., Monkey D. Luffy and Juri Bonnie, that he has been blasted to pieces and is in danger of falling into the ocean, where he will most likely drown or just be immobilized, because thanks to the Kuma flashback, it seems as though every member of the 5 elders has some form of immortality. We don't know the nature of the immortality. I've talked about it in various videos. It could be the result of the op fruit. It could just be because they are mythical zones, therefore technically, like Luffy and many others, what they are based on doesn't exist. So therefore, the nature of being a mythical zone is that you are an idea, a concept incarnate, and ideas and concepts don't die. So you are untethered by the mortal coil in that way, because you, especially as an awakened user of a mythical zone fruit, have become an idea yourself. You are a concept incarnate. So with that being said, he's probably just immobilized at the bottom of the ocean, much like how a fishman or a mer person who has eaten a Del fruit is. Like Jack, for example. Moving on, though, getting back to Katharina Devon, I was thinking, can Kitsune actually copy memories from humans? And shout out to Sleepopolis and Wikipedia, because that seems to be the case. Because as the user of the dog fruit model 9-tail fox, Katharina Devon could have those abilities, because it is mentioned in both of these websites that they have memory-based abilities. In some accounts, they can just steal knowledge and memories from humans, right? On other accounts, it's said that they can make humans lose knowledge and memory. So either way, memory is being included within the power set. And based on Katharina's Devil Fruit power debut, she is using the power to mimic. So most likely, the ability that her power is most proficient in is copying others. And I think, much like that shapeshifter in The Boys, she can copy everything but the abilities of the individual. Now, that doesn't account for form, because in order for her abilities to be worthwhile, she has to be better than the clone fruit held by Betham, and better than, say, the Garb fruit held by Kinemon, because Kinemon seems to have abilities that are like a Tanuki / a Kitsune, because of the whole put a object on your head and boosh, you have a transformed object around your person. But anyway, as a trickster and as a mythical zoan, I can see this Kitsune fruit having the ability to copy all the forms of an individual. Because with Betham, he could do that already because he was able to copy Chopper, which is weird within itself because technically he copied an ability in that way because he presumes the form of Chopper in his hybrid state, which of course is a devil fruit caused form. So in a way, he copied an ability, but seeing as how that ability isn't really worthwhile, it's just giving a reindeer human forms and human intelligence, it kind of passes the grade because two, he is in a weird way copying a human. So with Catherine Devon's case, I think she can copy all the forms of Saturn. And in being able to do that, she can assume his human state, his hybrid state, and his full beast state, along with copying his memories. And I think the memory copying is going to set her apart from fruits like the clone fruit, because it's something of a higher grade of power that they just don't have the ability to recreate. So with that being said, I think that's the key for a lot of Blackbeard's plans to manifest, because if she can copy all of Saturn's knowledge, that gives Blackbeard a big foothold in a lot of goings on that the world government has committed. Because, as I said just a few minutes ago, Saturn is old. Saturn has been around for a long time. And what's interesting about this is that nine-tailed foxes get more powerful the older they get. And the transformation tree of a nine-tailed fox is kind of interesting because it reflects the journey Catherine Devon has been on as just a character in the narrative of One Piece. Because as a character in the story, she hates beautiful women, right? When a nine-tailed fox is 100 years old, it can become a beautiful woman. And when it's 50 years old, it can transform itself into a woman. So as a character, these two aspects represent Catherine Devon because she is a woman who has eaten the dog fruit model nine-tailed fox. And as a character, she despises beautiful women. So that's how those two aspects of the Kitsune legend relate to Catherine Devon. Now, the other two most important aspects are that also, when the fox is 100 years old, it can become a man who can have intercourse with a woman. This is interesting because during Catherine Devon's power debut, she transforms into Absalom. The man that the Kitsune transforms into is said to be a bit lecherous. Absalom is known for being lecherous. What makes this interesting too, and kind of goes back to the whole memory thing, is that she portrays herself to act like Absalom would act because she is being presented as Absalom amongst beautiful women, which is weird because she doesn't like beautiful women. So I think that does add more credence to the whole memory stealing aspect of her abilities, or the memory copying aspect of her abilities, because she knew exactly what to do to fool Moria and the audience before transforming into a fox and then transforming into herself. But the last aspect, which is the most interesting out of all of these, is that when the fox is 1,000 years old, it can ascend to the heavens and become a celestial fox. Well, we find out in chapter 907, there's 7 again, numerology. Anyway, that out of all the celestial dragons, the Gorosei are the highest ranking celestial dragons in the land. So, in presumably copying Saturn, she has ascended and has become a high ranking celestial. The highest one can become, other than, I guess, copying Emu. So, that's something to take note of. On top of that, what's interesting about the way she copies him is that she does so by touching him in her human form. And this is a very sort of low hush-hush thing that mythical Zoans seem to be able to do, because so far, Marco and Orochi can use their paramecia-like abilities that are granted to them by their mythical Zoan fruits in their human forms, like Devon is doing in chapter 1107. Marco can use the blue flames of the Phoenix while in his human state, and Orochi was decapitated by Kaido in his human state and was fine. So that lets you know that when it comes to mythical Zoans, they don't need to transform into their animal states or hybrid forms in order to use their extra abilities. Those abilities are just innate to them. So using that as a springboard, let's talk about Devon's role in Blackbeard's plan. Okay, so we don't know why the Blackbeard pirates originally came to Egghead, because I highly doubt that they knew about Luffy being there, and I highly doubt they knew about Saturn coming there with Kizaru and all the Vice Admirals, right? I don't think that was public knowledge, but I think in Saturn being there and knowing who Saturn is, presumably, Catherine of Devon took that opportunity because she knew copying his visage would be useful, so she took that. But I think the reason why they came to Egghead in the first place was to secure Dr. Vegapunk, because Blackbeard might need some upgrading, right? So, seeing as how York is one of two Vegapunks that are left alive, most likely Devon is going to use Saturn as a way to convince York to go along with Van Augur and Caribou. Either one of them could secure York. Caribou could because of his infinite body, and Van Augur could just warp York to the ship along with any Seraphim they also want to secure. Because two, before this conflict started, of course, Teach had encounters with the Seraphim before. He fought S-Hawk and perhaps knew about S-Snake. We don't know. They never interact, but it's likely that he has found out details about what they were after his encounter with them on Amazon Lily. So I think he's going to secure York, and he's going to secure S-Snake and S-Hawk, given that S-Snake has the Love fruit, and he was originally interested in the Love fruit because of Hancock. So he secures S-Hawk and he secures S-Snake. Then I think from that point forward, it'll be very easy for Catherine of Devon to pose as Saturn for the time being. As posing as Saturn, she will leak information back to Blackbeard. What I also think this will result in is Catherine of Devon perhaps leaking the true identity of the one who sits atop the throne of the world, letting Blackbeard know that Emu exists, because he may not know at the time. This would put him on equal footing, honestly, in a weird way, to someone like Wapol, because Wapol knows about Emu. He saw Emu, but Blackbeard doesn't know. However, Emu knows about Blackbeard and is very, very perturbed by his existence, presumably. So this would let Blackbeard know about Emu's existence. Then I think in posing as Saturn, at some point, Catherine of Devon is going to touch Marcus Mars. Why is this important? Because Marcus Mars is the only Gorosei member who has the power of flight. So whenever information gets too hot or Catherine Devon's cover is blown, presumably when the real Saturn comes back to Mary Joish, she could just turn into Marcus Mars's bird form, because from what we've talked about earlier, if she touches a Gorosei, she can most likely copy everything about them except for their special abilities. So in that way, she would gain the power of flight by copying Marcus Mars and turning into his weird bird form and just fly the coop. If things go further than that, I think it could be possible for Catherine Devon to copy Emu. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The main point in Catherine Devon being in the Gorosei at this time is to grant Blackbeard his wish in turning the pirate island into a sanctioned nation under the flag of the world government. And that's where I think plans will escalate from that point, which will probably lead to the Emu thing I just spoke about. But with that being said, this would also lead into a video I made previously about York eventually becoming the queen of the Blackbeard kingdom. Because too, I think she will be convinced in a similar way to how Kuzan was convinced as to how going along with Blackbeard will get her everything and more that she could possibly ever receive as a celestial dragon. Because as we know, Blackbeard and his organization are after the world as a whole. And what better way to convince York to join than to heighten her horizons as to say how far she can actually go if she decides to side with him. So that's all I have for you today on that. Give me your thoughts.